Hey all, welcome back to another episode of Sketchbook Sessions. Today I'm going to be working on maps from my fictional world of Black Man Seas. I did this map off camera. Took me a long time, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, but it was a lot of fun. I inked everything and colored it all with alcohol markers, which it turned out really well, but the alcohol markers is kind of a big ask. Like this blue, I think, was brand new and now it's pretty much dead, if I remember correctly. But I wanted to do another map, a smaller scale map, to see more of the coastline and more of the island archipelago that's around here. And I think I'm going to do it in watercolor paint. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to do a time lapse for you here in a minute. But before that, just want to describe it a little bit. We have the country of Caden on the left side here, on the west side, Blackman Strait, Larini Island, which is the main island, which is where most of the stories take place, and some surrounding islands and pirate waters and everything. But it is very localized map, and I wanted to kind of just see more of the area in this glorious color detail that I can be proud of. Okay, so I started off with a digital drawing of this map that I made some time ago that was somewhat incomplete. Most of the place names were just sort of added on the fly, and there wasn't even that many place names to begin with. And then I got an 11 by 17 Bristol board, which is the same piece of paper that the marker drawing that I just showed you was on. We'll see if it takes watercolor. It probably isn't the best paper for it, but I think it should be strong enough. And then I just started using the pencil and actually really taking my time, because I've found that a lot of the problems with writing, for me anyway, especially when it's fantasy, is that I can't remember really where my characters are going, where they left off, what they're doing really, especially if I haven't gone through the time to actually name several different towns, which I'm doing now, and I thought that was a lot of fun. It took me maybe a week to do the pencil stage, and I just wanted to get it all like perfect. I wanted to get all the city names in there, and I wanted to get all the coast names, bay names, forest names, everything. And I think I actually did a pretty good job. I know that there's a lot more to add. It's really, when you're world building, it's really never finished, but it's good to put something on paper just so you have it, really. One thing I wish I did when I was making this is remembering that I have a red marker, or red pen I should say, because I liked how the other map looked with the red pen for all the place names. So I go back to doing that, but only after the first few place names are written in black, which is okay, because the Larini Island is really like the main event of the map, and it's okay that it's all uniform and works out, even though it's not red. So this video isn't really about like how to draw a fantasy map, but you can definitely gather some fun, helpful tips from this video. Like you can see the mountains I did, which is kind of like a zigzag line, and then from that zigzag line you just draw other additional lines in the same direction. The forests are just little bubble circles, really. Just a kind of a textured circle and different little bird things in between them. And then the water, I just do this like really loose, kind of like hatching, just horizontal lines coming off of the bay, or the beach I should say. What I've learned is it doesn't really matter what you draw as long as you make an effort to have it represent what it actually is. So like the trees, they kind of have that bubbly edge because that's kind of like what leaves look like, especially if there's a lot of leaves. The water has these lines on it because waves. And then the mountains are kind of like triangles because mountains are vaguely like triangles. But in the end, it doesn't really matter too much. especially color, can help solve a lot of these problems too. I think the most valuable lesson that I learned doing this was all the little towns. It's very, very important to decide where your towns are and how you're going to label them before you start inking, because most of the time the names get in the way of the coastlines, which is very frustrating. But I think I did a pretty good job planning this one out. I've done several other maps before where it just gets really like hectic. In a minute we're going to be done with the inking phase, and then I'm going to go on to coloring this and then the final reveal, which you could always skip ahead to, but that's lame. Don't do that. Just kidding. You can do whatever you want to do. But if you think this is interesting, and if you'd like to hear more, I'm going to keep on writing about my fictional world on this channel, and if you love it, let me know in a comment. I really want to know what people are thinking about this kind of stuff. And if you're not already subscribed, I think that'd probably be a really good idea to subscribe to, and then maybe get the bell on. All those YouTube things, you could do all of them. I think this is one of the most fun things about doing maps, is adding like little things on the sides, like the north arrow there. I think that's pretty exciting. It's kind of like it's on old parchment, and it's this weird kind of Arabian looking N, and I don't know, some kind of weapon indicating the direction. And if you go back to the beginning of the video or the end of the video when I show the previous map that I made, I even drew a little ship out there in the ocean. So I think that's kind of like the most fun thing to me about drawing maps, is adding all these little details that are not necessarily geography related. So one thing I also learned about the Bristol board and the watercolor is that it did make some of my ink like run a little bit. So I had to be a lot more careful than I was with the marker, which just meant that I couldn't oversaturate it, which is fine, but you definitely don't want to oversaturate the ink areas to get them to be reactivated. A good practice is just to not use like heavy ink when you're going to be watercoloring or using markers, or if you can, at least let it dry for a couple of days. That's going to be really the best way to go about it. So there we have it, finished version of this map, and you can see with the one that we started with, have the Larini Island here and Caden off to the left, and then we have Larini Island here. So it's a much smaller scale map, and I have more things to explore, really. The other side of this mountain range, what's over there? I don't know. Some of these other islands, I know there's got to be a lot of interesting things in there. So until next time, stay tuned. Just make sure you're subscribed and make sure you got the bell on, and we'll find out what else is going on in this country after more gets created. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.